Hi, everyone. This is Jason Culbertson with Open Design Docs. I'm here with Nova Hansbrough. Nova is a principal UX designer in the Bay Area, and we're going to do a walkthrough of her case study today. Excited to have you here, Nova. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, looking forward to jumping right in. If you want, let's go ahead and you can share your screen and we'll get going here.
Right. Let me share. Thank you again for having this time with me, and I really appreciate the time. So I'm gonna share my screen. All right. This should work. All right. All right. So my name is Nova Hansbrough, and Wangili is kind of my maiden name. So I used to go by Nova Wangili. So a little bit about me. I have experience over 10 years in UX and product design, but my original background is in graphic design. So I used to be in marketing, doing also print and some little bit packaging. But I really, for the last 10 years, I've really focused on UX and product design. On the side, I also mentor a lot of young designers and also teach creative arts to young students, so like little kids in a public school. So I use my design expertise to really inspire the future creators. So yeah, that's my fun side hustles, I would say. Let me I'm gonna just jump into introducing one of my case study, and if we have time, I have another case study. So let's see. I wanna introduce the a case study that I work on at JustAnswer, which is the last company I work with as a principal designer. To give a little background of JustAnswer, it's the largest Q&A marketplace. It's a multi-sided marketplace. JustAnswer has 150 plus categories, from major categories like health, legal, pets, cars, even down to dream interpretation or homework. And then, so you can ask anything. They are verified experts. So that's kind of our unique value proposition. So it's not chatbot, it's not AI. You can actually connect to human experts. So this is the project. It's a conversational post-conversion experience. Just to dive right in, my role in this project is as a lead UX, and also that time I'm a people manager as well. And it's a hybrid role that they have during that time that can provide principal level to be able to manage the transition into management. So I was in that role at that time. So just to highlight the complexity of my role at that time is I have daily interaction with the core team. It's fully remote. So all the meetings is virtual, and then with product managers, other UX designers, content strategists, researcher, data analysts, and all that daily interaction. And then with weekly connection, we have connect with all the managers, and we give updates about the project. And then maybe in bi-weekly, I connect with the director level to update about the project. So this is a really big project, so that's why this structure is really complex. So the project starts with one of the problem is about membership retentions. We saw there's a cancellation within a day, which is big. It's like almost 10% of customers. And how the customers found JustAnswer service, just want to give you a little bit of background of the user journey. They typically, the scenario is they search online, they search on Google about a question. Maybe I would say maybe their kids or their pet is all of a sudden gets sick. It's like, oh, vomiting for a few hours or have fever, and we don't know what to do in the middle of the night or on the weekends. Mostly doctor's office or vet's office are closed. So they're searching through internet and mostly Google's and just asking a lot of questions. Like, but because of the importance of the problem, I think the desire is they want to connect with an actual experts just to make sure there's no error in the information that they got from like internet. It's just like a rabbit hole. You can just see anything, any pictures, and it's all of a sudden it's a cancer or something. And then so that's how they discover JustAnswer with our customers. They see the Google ads, they click on the Google ads, and they land on our, we call it internally, conversion landing page. So we have this problem in the beginning, and then we kind of start into a problem discovery. So maybe there is another thing. I mean, this is just data analytics that we saw. Let's get into let's connect with other departments. Maybe we have a chatbot team. So, okay, maybe we can look at their logs. And also we have customer care. And I think that's the best. I feel like that's the best place to find anything. And, what's the problem there? And also we can do a research interview, like direct interview for the customers who just cancel or just cancel within a day. So that's how we kind of get into the problem discovery and like really get into the root of the problem. Is it just because they don't like our service or something else? I just want to pause a sec, and if you have any questions or feedback so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
so maybe if you want, I can give you some feedback now.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe let's go
absolutely.
back to the beginning for a second.
Yeah.
I love number one that you did this in Figma. That's great. I think it's always important to do it in Figma so you can show that you can use the tools. Go to the
The very
second page of your entire
first.
presentation. Yeah, right here. So right there, the about. So for me, but I think like I'm following along with your story really well. I think something that'd be really helpful is to think about one, I kind of say this to everyone, which is upfront, what I'd love to see is a quick like snapshot of like where you've worked, what the roles were, and just so I can almost get like a very brief example of your LinkedIn right here,
Mm,
because I may or someone may or may not have seen your LinkedIn before, so it's important I think to just like bullet that out. And then I love the conversation around, what you do outside of work with like helping teach youth. I think what I would suggest is, and I also suggest this to people is like, I want to connect with you as a human.
mm-hmm.
So I would love to see like any photos of that, anything that just helps me to see that. And, when you talked about that, it made me smile, but I would love to like see a little more visual. I think that's maybe a little bit that's missing for me right now is like some visual representation of some of the things that you're talking about. So if you go to the next slide, for example, one more, like for this, for example, like I would love to see like the Just Answer logo, maybe
Mm-hmm.
an image of their product, something like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
again, you're relying on words here,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's good, but I think it would be great if you had visuals to accompany these things so that I keep like engaged really well with the presentation. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're designers, like I'm hunting for something visual to look at. And in doing that, you actually might find that you can cut down some of these words and just focus on like JustAnswer is the largest Q&A marketplace connecting customers to direct help. And then you could talk through some of those things. Like you might find that you might cut down some of your words if you have like a visual with it. Go to the next screen. Yeah,
So
that's
this.
great. Okay, next screen. Yep. Sorry,
Oh,
keep going.
yes or no? Yeah, problem.
Yeah, so
Scaffold.
I think right. I think some of these is like so far, I think your story makes a ton of sense so far. I think again, it's just that it's for me again, like I would love accompanied visuals along the way with this,
Okay.
so that I understand a little more clearly what's going on. And maybe that doesn't work for something like this, but I would encourage you to think about then if it's just going to be words, think about how you would design these words. So go back to like your graphic design experience that you said you had and think about, so like go one page to the right, not the roll one. Like this one, for example. Like
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be nitpicky,
Yeah.
but I know if you have a graphic design experience, I know if you look at this page, you could probably rethink about how to design the words on this page in a way that has like clearer hierarchy, a little bit like tighter, simpler things like that. Because, for example, there's like three different font sizes on this one page right here. I think just I would encourage you to go back and look at like when you do have text, like think about how to like simplify that and like design it as if you're designing like a print piece, because I feel like you've put this together like a presentation, which is fine, like an internal presentation. But you gotta remember that me as someone who potentially could be hiring you, I'm looking at the design of this presentation itself as a representation of your design skills. So just always keep that in mind as you're thinking about like your work itself. So anyway, we can keep going forward. But so far I'm following the story very, very well. So I think
All
it's like
right.
good narrative.
Sounds good. All right. So we kind of stop here on problem
Hmm.
discovery. So we really dig deep into the root of the problems. And I'm just gonna talk about I talk a little bit about the user journey on how the customers found us. It was just through the Google Ads, and then we have many conversion landing pages. So we cater that landing pages according to the keywords that we think the customers are searching. Like if they talk about my dog is vomiting, so we actually have a specific dog landing page that is targeted into that keyword. So that's how we work. JustAnswer, so they land on the landing page. It's all about dogs, and then we have a chat bot on that conversion landing page, and then that walk you through what are the symptoms, what's your dog's name, and just kind of put a human touch. And also, although it's a chatbot, and then all the information, what kind of service you're getting, what kind of promise that you are getting with our service.
So I
So,
think Nova in this particular case,
mhm,
you have three things that you're talking about.
mhm,
It'd be very easy for you to take a single screen from each of those three examples and
mhm,
just have like mobile screen, mobile screen, mobile screen,
mhm.
and then just use that visual only and then walk me through the exact same thing you said.
Yeah, there's,
You know what I mean? Because that way I'm like seeing it. I'm like,
yeah,
got it.
yeah, yeah. So, so with this, I think in the initial idea was to showcase the whole journey, and then and I want to highlight the kind of this end-to-end journey and how the we kind of hone in into a specific journey in the customers. Internally, we call it waiting room. And then after discovering the problems and look at the problems, the team decided to select, let's focus on this kind of waiting room experience, which is it kind of simulates when you go to the office or doctor's office. You're sick and you go to the office, and there's people in the front like take your information, your insurance, and all this background history of your health. And then you kind of wait. We call it waiting. So you wait around to be able to meet with the doctor. So this is waiting room is the most important part in the business and also with the customer. For the business is where the customers almost 100% engage at this time there, but also at the same time the customers is anxious. They want to know the answers. They already put the question in, but they really wanted to be connected with experts. So sometimes this is kind of a risky, I think we call it a risky time. Either people like it or hate it and just abandon the experience. Um, so I'm just gonna go to the next one is like that's where we focus on post conversion. So at this time, the customers already past the paywall and they are subscribing to a membership, and that's how our pricing work. So when you ask a question, you get into a payment system, so you automatically subscribe for a month, and then you can cancel anytime and you can ask unlimited questions. So it's not just one question. So you can ask many questions and back and forth with your expert. So that's the promise, and that's our kind of value proposition at that time. So as I say again, post conversion experience is really crucial for business and customers. And the wait time is lasting for is 30 minutes. And internally in the business side, many important initiatives want to leverage this time. So like, oh, let's push the app, let's push the marketing, let's push the benefits, let's push this. And I think we as a UX team, when I lead this project, like we need to step back and kind of really listen to what the customers need at this time. They're really anxious. They just want answer. I don't know if they're in the right mindset to think about the benefits of the service or think about the moving to the app, download the app. And so there's a lot of back and forth internally about how to prioritize the importance of the product itself, what we're offering at a time, and then really benefit the customers. So this is the before screens. Just, I think as you can see, this is the paywall. And once you pay, we kind of welcome you to the experience and then ask your phone number. I think that's because in the past, there's a lot of engagement when we ask a phone number and they can receive notification on their phone. They don't have to wait around in front of their computer or on the phone and like open the tab open for 5-10 minutes. And so that's why we kind of ask their phone number at first, because this is 100% engagement. They just pay the welcome page. We need to ask your phone number. I mean, I think there's some questions in the past like, why don't you ask the phone number on the paywall? There's a long history of that. There's before me, there's a long history before I joined. So we still have that experience in after the paywall to ask a phone number. And then that's the most crucial information that we need to get from customers to be able to connect with them if they close the tab or close the or going somewhere else, so we can connect with them immediately if the answer is ready or there's something else. The next screen is talking about the benefits, and so like what can you do with the service. You can chat with the doctor 101, and also you can chat about the wellness section. I think we have discount on vitamins, and you can chat about mental health counseling. So there's an array of service that you can use just outside of the initial question that the customers ask. And then it's just only 4 screens. And then the next one is like, here's what happened next. You ask a question, we're matching you with the doctor, and the doctor's gonna look at your question and work at the answer, and then the customer will chat with the doctor on the web platform. So 4 screen, very simple. This is a the before design and the current design. And so we really dig deep again into the screens itself and how there's a lot of problems that resurfacing with just that 4 screens. And I think that the big problem is like we didn't set the good enough expectation to the customers and how they will get the answer on when they get the answer.
You mean, sorry, you mean at the beginning, you're not setting expectations with the customers. Okay, I understand.
Yeah. So like you don't know what the time is, and there's
Yeah, I
no
understand. It's like they're giving you their phone number,
yeah
and then they're like, oh, wait, I have to wait for this. Okay,
yeah. So and
understood.
then also the when you give phone number, you get notification immediately, but it's more like welcome to Just Answer, and the doctors is working on your answer. Pretty much, it's
So
very simple.
can I give you a little bit of feedback thus far, which is I think I think you have a lot of knowledge in your head about this problem and what's going on. I think what I would encourage you is to become more succinct with how you explain it. And
Mm-hmm.
again, these visuals are great because they're just very simple. And I think that you don't necessarily have to like walk me through all these screens, but I think some of your slides before, you could have shown these 4 screens and just said, here's how this works, like blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, almost like here's the waiting room of what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I would expect next is like, here's the problem with this waiting room.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's what we did to try to solve it. And then here's the solution, like just a little more crisp around that storytelling so that I'm like, I think what's happening, what I'm seeing is you are providing so much information that
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting like lost a little bit in I'm following it, but it's like a lot to take in versus I think you can just cut it down to like, okay, what was the problem? What was the before? What were the problems with it? And then how did I go to solve it? And then what was the final solution?
I see. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
crisper around that storytelling.
yeah.
Because all I'm really looking for is like, can you solve problems well?
Mm-hmm.
And, so I don't need all of the background in order to understand if you solve problems well.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah. That's very helpful because like I think the I kind of expanded the storytelling and then cut it down a little bit, but I like your idea also like really just cut it down and make it
Yeah.
clear of the these are problems and how I solve it. And because sometimes when I was thinking about it, it's like, oh, maybe it's too simple.
Like
And
if I was going to give you a framework for how to do a
yeah.
case study, it'd be like, here's the company, here's the
Mm-hmm.
problem the company's having, which you presented right up front.
Mm-hmm.
Here's like the screens related to that from a
Mm-hmm.
user perspective. Here's the problem that we're having. Here's how I went to solve it. Here's the result. And then, what were the metrics that changed
Mm-hmm.
and what would I do differently or what happened next or whatever, like some final thing of like, here's what I would do if I had more time or, anything you might have learned from it.
Right. Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like, I don't have to know a lot about the product. I don't have to know a lot about like the company. I just need to know enough for you to like tell that story.
Okay.
And it could literally be like any product in the world. But if
Right.
I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
see, if I can see you, I'm looking for two things. One is I can see you can solve a problem. The other is I want to see your storytelling because storytelling is an important part of a job, obviously,
Right.
especially the higher you go up, like principal levels, extremely senior. And so your storytelling is super important because I want you to be able to go in front of like execs and pitch your work and tell the
Mm-hmm.
story about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the third part, of course, obviously is like the craft itself. And like, I see this and I'm very interested. I'm like anticipating a better design with
Right.
your result.
Yeah. Cool. All right. All right. So this the before I have this process slide. It's just kind of like explain the how's this project. It's not always a smooth sailing, and with the company, it started as planning in Q4, like the 20. We actually testing it in Q3, so it's almost a year project, and it takes so long, and it's still like day to day grind, and like how we storming and forming the team, and finally we kind of get together into a solution. This is the final impact of this project. We want to measure customer response rate in the beginning, and I'm going to walk you through how we get to this, and then it's a positive outcome. It's a 5.8% increase. So
What's your goal?
so this is the overall impact. Yes, that's
That's like the metric
the
goal for
metrics.
this
Yeah,
project. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Cool.
the metrics goal. And then every project I go through a framework that we as a team, and I as myself as well, to just go through this problem solving framework from the insights and what's the problems opportunities, and then synthesis, prioritize, and task plan, and work accordingly with other designers and also product managers and data analysts at that time, also researching. So this framework is, I follow it with all my heart, and sometimes we only have a little time of research, sometimes we have a lot, and so we kind of just adjust. I just adjust accordingly. So it really takes time to coordinate approval for every direction. So I led a design sprint exercise to kind of really bring every stakeholders together from product, UX, and really just prioritize the problems and find the initial solutions. I led online and also virtually and also in person at that time. So we were at the office and also online as well. So that was great. And then Figma Jam also helped a lot with the tool and the orchestrate the idea of brainstorming. Look at analytics report or information, what's happening in the past and what's happening now, where the customers drop off. And so also from research interviews, what kind of things that we gather. So the overall, the key insights is we have customers provide their phone numbers, but they drop off midway through post conversions and almost 30%. And then only 37% like come back after the first question. And it's just like, and there's a lot of switches from if they ask from desktop, they go to the mobile web. And I think the most important one that we found out too, that some customers are willing to wait for the answers, and that's kind of a important one. And it's not just like everything's hair on fire questions. I need an answer within a minute, otherwise something's gonna happen with my life or with my pet or with my kid. So that insight is coming from mostly from legal customers that they have a bigger, longer problem, and they kind of have a real-time experience with their actual attorney, and they have to wait for a week. So just waiting for 30 minutes, it's really, or even a day, is really like it's a treat for them. So we kind of have that insights, and with these insights, we kind of formulate what's the actual customer's problems, and we know that like they didn't know how long the wait was to be connected to the expert. There's no time indication. There's no. We just say, hey, yeah, your expert's working on your problems. So like, so how long, right? So how would they receive the answer? Is it through email, or they just ask my phone number? Is it through text? Is it through like close the tab or not closing the tab? Like, am I connected through here? So there's just a lot of questions from customers that during that waiting room period, and it's like, okay, and I think that's kind of triggered many cancellation as well. That like, okay, I think this is a hoax, or this is not, it's a fake company. They just take our money and like, I'm just gonna cancel. So we saw opportunities. You say we kind of formed this together during brainstorming. So like customers really want information on when they're gonna get their answer. They just want to know if it's within a minute or within 30 minutes, so they can go on with their activities during that time. Like, so they don't have to wait in front, or they can wait, and they want a smooth transition from this waiting room. And that's kind of like, okay, that we kind of know the root of the problem, and let's solve it like according to this. So we crafted a vision statement together within that brainstorming again. It's like, okay, we need to get user into the meaningful conversation with the expert on their schedule. They want it 1 minute, they want it 30 minutes, and they have to do something within an hour. They can come back and then chat with the expert. And the current experience, we didn't have that option. We didn't even tell the time. We didn't have like, everything's very vague and there's no clear. We provided some animation that like, okay, yeah, your expert's working on your answer, and it's just a looping animation. It was like, but how many minutes? So that's kind of a big problem. So working with product managers and other stakeholders, so like less focusing on time expectations. So like, I think that's kind of almost like a low-hanging fruit that we can actually increase customer satisfaction and also reduce immediate cancellations. That's our hypothesis. So that's what we're working on. So with the test plan, so I with product manager also working together with the test plan, and what are the things that we want to measure, how are we going to test this, what's the first test, what's the second test, if this fail or this successful, what kind of subsequent a testing that we want to do. So it is really fun, or also fun for me to be able to work together as a partner with a product manager and forming the actual test plan together, and the goal of this project, because it's a big project, and all executives has eyes on this, and all initiatives has really anxious about this project as well, because it's gonna affect their KPI as well. Can you still see my screen? I just get a notification that's trying to connect.
No, no, you're good.
Okay. All right.
Perfect.
All right. So do you have any question before I kind of dive into the constraints of these projects? Because there's just a lot of blocks as well. So it's always not smooth sailing. So with this project, with ChatGPT was just exploded that time, and the CEO's direction is like, we need to invest on ChatGPT and on every projects, on all of the projects, and the large language model is developing in JustAnswer, and we get more and more sophisticated with it. And then ChatGPT came out, and then we trying to kind of evolve that capabilities and kind of inject it into the product. And of course, like, it's not just like shiny new tool, but we really want to look at from the customer's perspective. Like, is it useful? Is it gonna help them? So with a lot of kind of a testing priorities, we also have some constraints. So like there's a testing calendar and also buy-in from a lot of initiatives. So we constantly have to present the solutions to initiatives to get the cross-team buy-in. So like we want to do this, and this may affect your KPI for a moment, and that, but we want to test if this actually helps the overall business. Helps the overall business. So this is kind of the idea space. What kind of success metrics that we are focusing on? Once again, is the customer's response rate. This is kind of the secondary metrics. We want to see the conversation view and the cancellation rate. So with kind of this guide of the metrics, we came up with solutions. And so we always have these 2 or 3 big solutions. I mean, before this is a lot, right? So we want to have a concierge experience that kind of really guide through the customers, or maybe this is kind of like a story for customers. We want to give the power to customers, choose your own path. So if you wanna set up a appointment, you wanna just read the benefits, you wanna see how long is your membership's gonna last, what's it gonna get you. Or I don't know if you know about Domino Pizza information, where there's like each step. We were inspired by that experience when we designed this, so we call it Domino Pizza information. So you kind of know, I think we use this a lot in food delivery service. Like, okay, John is getting your pizza. John is putting the pepperoni on top or whatever and putting into the oven. So the customers know exactly what happened in that period of time. If a doctor writing information, and it's a live measurement of information. Any questions
I
so
just want
far?
to
Yeah.
be, I just want to be aware of time here. So
Hmm.
we've got about 15 minutes, but I also want to make sure we have time to
Yeah.
talk through some more stuff. I think one thing is that as you're going through, I'm realizing that I feel like, at the end of the day, I think you could probably cut half of your screens.
Hmm.
I think what I'm seeing is you're spending a lot of time talking through like every detail, but the
Hmm.
reality is that those details really don't matter that much to me. Like you probably could have skipped several of your slides and just gone straight into like metrics, solutions. Like, again,
Hmm.
it's like, what are the chapters of that story?
All right.
And so I would encourage you again to kind of think back at this presentation after we do this and really look at like, okay, what what's absolutely necessary for someone to know, and what are things that they don't need to know. I'll
Hmm.
give you a great example, like the screen with like the messy line on it.
Mm.
I don't need you to explain that to me.
Okay.
Like I get that. You know what I mean? I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean like we all live that. I just want to see your story that's unique to you. And
Hmm.
so I don't need all of that information. And I think it will really help you make your story much more concise
Hmm.
and like hard hitting, versus it's kind of like you're kind of changing your elevation a lot. Does that make sense? Like you're going
Mm.
high in terms of like, here's how the world of design works and at the company. And then you're like going back into the project again. And I just want
Mm.
to have you focus on the project level. Like,
Okay.
just like, show me the details,
Hmm.
because again, like you're going to be talking to people who are pretty senior, and so they just want to see like this, they get it, they know how these things work, they just want to see like, okay, how did you do this?
Okay.
that helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's really good too. Because sometimes some feedbacks are like, oh, I want to know more the background, and I put more background, and then I sound like,
Hmm.
that's like,
Well, I think you've got the background. The background you gave is in there. It's like, here's the problem. Here's like what the company's trying to do. Here's the screens that show it. Here's your process of how you started to think about it. And then here's like you're getting into like, okay, here's like solutions that I came up with or we came up with out of the brainstorm. And then I'm assuming you're about to jump into tested those solutions
mm-hmm,
or whatever that may be. So I think you've got all the story there. I think it's just
narrow it down again.
yeah. Well, just make it a little more like
Yeah.
like yeah. So let's see this. Let's just jump into this. Is
Okay.
this the
Yeah.
next screens? Yeah.
Yeah. So this is just another recap of like we're gonna see the before screens, and we get into the very lean solutions, and we kind of get into the short-term, medium-term, and long-term solutions and presented that into the many stakeholders and initiatives. So we also be aware of some of the constraints that we have in the beginning, like ChatGPT, LLM, and just kind of the backend capabilities of LLM and the chatbot conversation that we have, and also initiatives. Like they have important KPIs that they measure as well. So we really want to be cognizant of all this importance and present it in a way that yes, we hear you, and then this is gonna help the overall business and also customers. So we did so many exploration, customers interviews, user testing, kind of visual exploration as well. How do we want to kind of update the visual? Because in the UX, it's like we need to update the visual, and it's just almost like legacy visuals, and we have to kind of bring it back to the 2000. So, so after, so we didn't touch the payroll. That's a different team. So we want to touch everything after the post conversion, the waiting room experience. So with that, we decided the solution is we immediately bring forward the chatbot experience and make it conversational. So it's not just like a static screen. And we have the chatbot persona. We call it Pearl, and we clearly stated this is a virtual AI assistant, and then we're gonna ask you about your phone number. So we also explain why we ask your phone number, and then it's a going through conversation that is very pleasant and delightful. And we work with conversation design team to really craft the tone of that conversation. And then we have this time indicator. I don't know if we can make it bigger, but right now it says matching with the doctor. This is we have really limited capabilities on the back end when we cannot pull the right timing when the customers can connect with the experts, and there's just a lot of technical issues. But we want to indicate to customers that there's something going on. There's something moving in the background. But I think in the future we want to make it like, okay, we have a countdown. Maybe it's like 3 minutes more, and then or 5 minutes more, and then you will reach out with the expert. So, but this is almost like a placeholder for a short-term solution that we're gonna have a place for it to indicate the timing of that conversation. So the whole experience is a chat and a conversation base. The the chatbot will so like, oh, do you want to do you want to hear about our benefits? So it's very engaging to the customers instead of just like slide through and hit next for the next steps. Then And at the end, like I think the times we have this about times goes faster when someone engage with you and then ask you questions, the right questions, maybe follow-up questions about your question, and we have the information in the beginning. So maybe do you have any more history about the dog in the past? Have she experienced this before? So that kind of smart question that we use the technology of ChatGPT as well and LLM to kind of generatively asking a right question for the customer.
I just want to say really quickly
Yeah.
before we jump in, because I've been really like, offering you a lot of critique on things, but I do want to say that this is visually such an improvement over what was there before.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really do appreciate like seeing this. I'm like, oh, okay, this is really nice. Like I get
Yeah.
it. Can you go back? And I also
Yeah.
maybe we could start like, or sorry, go back to where we were, like go forward in the presentation.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Because I think
Yeah.
again, like this is what's important to me. Like I want to jump in and I would much rather you spend time talking about I'm kind of thinking back this whole presentation, Nova.
Mm-hmm.
And really, you started with saying to me the challenge was that a huge percentage of people were abandoning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And another challenge, but you didn't really speak to it until later in the presentation, was
Mm-hmm.
that ChatGPT and the concept of LLMs was just coming out and was a challenge, a threat to the business,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you had long waiting times. You had this screen that told people nothing, like what, it just left them hanging. They didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm seeing this and I'm like, okay, your solution is, which is what you're not really speaking to, but I'm going to parse it out a little bit and maybe offer you some thoughts. Your
Mm-hmm.
solution is, how can we use LLM to immediately engage people? How can
Mm-hmm.
we show them that we're matching them with a real human? Because I went to the JustAnswer website and it's literally like, the first screen is real help from real people, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So you still want that.
Mm-hmm.
And then how can you, visually improve some of these things so you get people to do the acts that you want them to do, but you're doing it in context with like value. And I think this is like really, really strong from a craft and how you've led to this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like again, if I was going to work backwards from here,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like again, your storytelling. You don't have to tell the story today that actually was a story when you started. You can tell the story that makes the best story.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Because this was done like a few years back.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if I was to look at this in the world today and like
Mm-hmm.
AI and LLMs, things like that, I would
Yeah.
literally say like the problem is people were dropping out.
Mm-hmm.
And we also had an existential threat from LLMs.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what you did. You incorporated the LLM to get people engaged. You
Mm-hmm.
provided things in context with the chatbot so that people kept engaged with the product and
Mm-hmm.
also did the actions you want, like collecting the phone number, downloading the app, etc. And I think that's like a fascinating story, especially right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit different story than how you were telling it.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to have the story as you thought 4 years ago. You can have the
Right.
story that makes the best sense today. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah. 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 I really like that um twist. I mean, not twist, but like a different
Like the
how to
framing.
yeah, the
Yeah.
framing, how to present it differently. So like yeah, AI and LM is still big right now, and then how like we solve or I solve this visual and also engagement through LLM.
Do you mind if we skip you talking through the presentation, just glance through the next screens? Because we only have about 5 minutes left.
It's almost done. So this is kind of like
Oh,
at
okay,
the
great.
end of yeah. So it's the end of the we tested it. I was out. We tested it, sorry, and then we got an initial result from that test. The first test is 5.8% increase in customer response rate, which is great. It's like wow, that's and we managed to get the visual updates as well.
Can you explain what customer response rate means?
Meaning customer actually responds to the chat
chat.
here. Yeah.
Okay.
So if like there's no response, that's how we measure. So it means the
Because that
customer's not
leads to
engaged.
them dropping off. I get it.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
So no response meaning no engagement and dropping off, and it just at the end leads to many more problems. So we measure this metrics in our company, the JustAnswer. I think that's it. I mean, I have
Can you go to that
just
last screen right there for a second?
this one.
No, one more. Yes, this one.
Yeah, so I have few screens that kind of explain my roles at JustAnswer.
Can you go to the next screen for a second? Is there one more after this?
So that kind
Okay.
of just
These
talk.
are
Yeah,
these are
that's
the type of things where at the very beginning of your presentation, I was expecting something more like this,
I said
which is like, here am I, here I am, Nova.
yeah.
But I think again, the screens that were of your presentation that were the most exciting to me were the ones where I saw the product.
I
And
see.
you've spent a lot of time writing out on words on a page what you want people to read. But what I would encourage you to do is like go back, think about how you can reduce slides, how can you dramatically reduce the number of words.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want people reading these things. You want people paying
No,
attention
no,
to
yeah,
you.
yeah.
And so you want very few words on a
Okay.
page and practice that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think also one other thing too is like when I'm looking at your results, can you go back to the final design for a second? Not this, but like, yeah, this. So this is really nice. Were you responsible for designing this? Was there a team of people
It's
or?
a team of people.
Okay, but you
So
led the design of this,
yeah.
right? So when I look at this, I'm like, okay, this person, Nova, like has good design taste. And I want to see you do one pass at your whole presentation with that same eye. I'm gonna like, you know, I think what I see a lot in people is that they don't spend as much time designing their presentation as they do designing their work.
Mm-hmm.
But as I sort of said earlier, like your presentation is a project because I don't know as a hiring manager
Mm-hmm.
what you actually designed and what you didn't design,
Mm-hmm.
but I know your presentation is the one thing you did design 100% yourself. And so it is the source of truth in terms of what I'm looking at and being like, can she really design well?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if, this was somebody else or if there was a design system or any of these sorts of things, but your presentation, I know you did.
Mm-hmm.
And so I encourage anyone to spend a lot of time on the nuances of their presentation themselves, just like you would do any product,
Mm-hmm.
because it is a project that represents you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Any questions before we leave here?
Yeah, I think a I kind of like so I get your point about who I am. I cut that a lot from this just case study, but I typically present how I get into probably 5-10 minutes. There's a bunch of slides.
I would
Yeah.
do, so let's say you have an hour
Mm-hmm.
for two projects.
Yes.
I would do 5 minutes maximum up front about you,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then bring in that part that really was meaningful to you about helping the youth and things like that. Like bring that
Mm-hmm.
in, show me that visually, like show
Yeah.
me pictures or whatever. I want to see that. Get into your projects, do about 15 minutes for each project. I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
good way to think about it. And
Right.
then you're leaving like, and then you're leaving time along the way for people to ask questions. So you still might end up with a little bit extra time. So maybe you could, maybe one of your projects is 20 minutes or maybe they're both
Right. Yeah.
20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes is
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
And that'll kind of give you some framework. So it's like 5, 15 to 20, 15 to 20. And then like there's like 10 minutes left or something like that at the end for people to ask questions, 10, 15 minutes along the way or ask questions at the end.
Yeah. I think that's I think my problem sometimes is like, oh, running out of time, and like talk
Yeah,
about certain things and too detailed. It's like, okay, I need to go back out to the just the
yeah, and it's sad when I see people start running out of time and they start speeding it up,
it is.
and it really like hurts their presentation. So I
Yeah.
think, really like if you say to yourself, okay, I have 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes max for a case study,
Mm.
how am I going to cut that down? Practice it. Again, really spend the time like going through presentation, practicing, timing yourself, like these sorts of things. I apologize. I have to leave, but it's been such a
No, that's
pleasure. I really
yeah,
enjoyed it. Thank you so much for the time, and I hope this was helpful.
totally. Thank you
And have a
again.
wonderful day.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Nova.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.